Okay, guys, so now we'll discuss about the economics of animal rearing. Now, introduction. So, livestock evolved over the past 12,000 years. Goat and sheep were the first animal species to be domesticated, and cow was the last major animal domesticated by human beings about 8,000 years ago in Turkey or Macedonia. Now, animal husbandry refers to livestock raising and selective breeding. It is the branch of agricultural sciences that deals with the study of various breeds of domesticated animals and their management for obtaining better products and services. Now, when knowledge of animal husbandry is incorporated with standard business practices, it is called livestock management. Now, we'll learn about the significance of animal rearing. Now we know farmers in India maintain fixed farming system. That is a combination of crop and livestock where output of one enterprise becomes input of another enterprise, thereby realizing the resource efficiency. Now in this, the first one is the income. Livestock is a subsidiary income for many families in India. Cows and buffaloes provide regular income to farmers through sale of milk. Animals like sheep and goats serve as sources of income during emergencies to meet exigencies like marriages, treatment of sick persons, children, education, repair of houses. Animals also serve as moving banks and assets which provide economic security to owners. The second one is employment. A large number of people in India are less literate and unskilled, and so they depend on agriculture. But agriculture being seasonal in nature, it cannot provide employment for a maximum of 180 days in a year. Now, the landless and the less land people spend on livestock during lean agricultural season. Now we'll talk about food. Livestock products like milk, meat, eggs, they are important source of animal protein to livestock owners. And the fourth one is the social security. To offer social security to owners in terms of status, gifting of animals during marriages is common. Animals are used for various social religious functions like bulls and cows. The fifth one is draft. Bullocks are backbone of Indian agriculture. Farmers, especially marginal and small, depend on bullocks for ploughing, carting, and transport of both inputs and outputs. And the sixth one is animal waste. It is used for several purposes like fuel, as dung cakes, fertilizers, farmyard manure, etc. Now we'll talk about the status of animal rearing in India. The first one is the employment in the sector. As per annual report 2017-18 of Periodic Labour Force Survey, the percentage of usually working persons engaged in animal production is the percentage of usually working persons engaged in animal production is 2.1%, in mixed farming is 1.41%, in fishing is 0.23%, and in aquaculture is 0.08%. Now we'll talk about the livestock and the poultry population. There are 303.76 million bovines, 74.26 million sheep, 148.88 million goats, and 9.06 million pigs as per the 28th livestock census in the country. Now we'll talk about the livestock production. According to National Account Statistics 2019 by Central Statistics Office, value of output from livestock was 31.81% of total agriculture and allied sector. Now we'll talk about milk. India is the largest producer of milk in the world. Milk production 2018-19 was 187.7 million tons. Per capita availability of milk is around 394 grams per day. Now we talk about eggs. Poultry production took quantum leap in last 4 decades, emerging from unscientific farming practice to commercial production system. Total poultry production in India is 851.81 million and egg production is 103.3 billion during 2018 to 19. Per capita availability is around 79 eggs per annum. Now we'll talk about wool production. In the beginning of the 12th plan in 2012-13 was 46.1 million kg and it increased to 48.1 million kg in 2014-15 but decreased to 40.4 million kg in 2018 to 19. Now we'll talk about the meat production. Beginning of 12th plan 2012 to 13 was 5.95 million tons and it increased to 8.1 million tons in 2018 to 19. Now we'll talk about the challenges faced by animal husbandry sector. The first one is the lower farm productivity. Average annual milk yield of Indian cattle is 170 is 117.2 kg, which is only 50% of global average. Frequent outbreaks of diseases like foot and mouth diseases, black water infection, influenza, they continue to affect livestock health and lowers productivity. And the second challenge is the lack of access to credit. Sector has got only 12% of total public expenditure on agriculture and allied sectors, which is disproportionately lesser than its contribution to agricultural GDP. Share of livestock in total agricultural credit hardly ever exceeded 4% of the total credit. The third challenge is the lack of access to organized markets. Most farmers lack access to formal markets for their produce. They sell produce to local markets and hence meager profits. Informal market intermediaries, they exploit producers. Now, the fourth one is the loss of pastures, shrinking and degrading pastures coupled with limitations of fodder. And the fifth one is the absence of livestock extension services. Consequently, only 5.1% of farm households were able to access any information on animal husbandry against 40.4% for crop farming. The only centrally sponsored scheme on livestock extension and delivery services with a budgetary outlay of rupees 15 crore remained non-operational. And the sixth one is the insufficient veterinary services and diseases control. Insufficient infrastructure and human resources for timely disease diagnosis, reporting, epidemiology, surveillance, and forecasting. Quality control for veterinary drugs and vaccines is almost non existent. And the next one is the poor quality control. Testing of milk and other livestock produce for safety and quality parameters at collection centers is non-existent. Lack of proper anaerobic waste treatment and dairy byproduct utilization are other concerns. There is demand for Indian meat products in international market, but lack of international processing standards is the hindrance. And the next challenge is the non-preference for indigenous species. India has huge diversity of animals which are adaptable to harsh climate, limited nutrition, and resistance to diseases and stress, but their populations have gone down due to comparative preferences for highly productive exotic breeds. Now we'll talk about the government initiatives. The first one is the National Animal Disease Control Program for FMD and brucellosis. Now, to control FMD by 2025 with vaccination and its eventual eradication by 2030. And intensive brucellosis control program is for controlling brucellosis, which will result in effective management of disease in both animals and in humans. It is a central sector scheme that is 100% of funds provided by central government to states or UTs. This program, combined with providing unique Pashu Aadhaar to 53.5 million animals, which include cattle, buffalo, sheep, goat, and pig. Now we'll talk about nationwide artificial insemination program. It aims to inseminate 20,000 bovine per district for 600 districts in India. It's a campaign mode genetic upgradation, and buffalo under AI will be which is under AI, which means the artificial insemination program will be tagged and can be tracked through information network on animal productivity and health database. It is 100% central assistant. Now we'll talk about the National Livestock Mission. The objective of sustainable development of livestock sector, National Livestock Mission has four submissions. The first submission is on fodder and feed development to address the problems of scarcity of animal feed resources. And the second submission is on livestock development, provisions for productivity enhancement, entrepreneurship development, and employment generation. Strengthening of infrastructure of state farms with respect to modernization, automation, and biosecurity, and conservation of threatened breeds and conservation of threatened breeds, minor livestock development. Just a second, guys. Yeah, so we were talking about submission. Yeah, submission on pig development in northeastern region. Government of India would support state piggery farms and importation of germplasm, and then the submission on skill development, technology transfer and extension. Emergence of new technologies requires linkages between stakeholders, and this submission will enable a wide outreach. Now we'll talk about National Mission on Bovine Productivity. Now, this was initiated in November 2016. It will be implemented as a part of Rashtriya Gokul Mission under umbrella scheme White Revolution Rashtriya Pashudhan Vikas Yojana to enhance milk production and productivity of bovine population. It increases trade of livestock and its products, e-market for bovine germplasm, and to double farmers' income by 2022. It has four components: Pashu Sanjeevani, animal wellness program with provision of Nakul Swasthya Patra, that is animal health card, along with unique ID to animals and uploading data on National Data Depository. And it also has advanced breeding techniques, IVF or MOET, in vitro fertilization or multiple ovulation embryo transplant, and sex sorted semen technique to improve availability of disease free high genetic merit female bovines. And then we have ePashuhat, which is a website portal launched on the birthday of V. Kurian on 26th November 2016 to connect breeders and farmers for sale and purchase of germplasm. And then we have National Bovine Genomic Center for Indigenous Breeds, NBGCIB. Now we'll talk about National Program for Bovine Breeding and Dairy Development. Now this was initiated in 2014 by merging four ongoing schemes of Department of Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries in dairy sector. Now we have National Project for Cattle and Buffalo Breeding, Intensive Dairy Development Program, strengthening infrastructure for quality and clean milk production, and assistance to cooperatives to integrate milk production and dairying activities. The scheme has two components: National Program for Bovine Breeding, National Program for Dairy Development. Now, National Program for Bovine Breeding focuses on to ensure quality artificial insemination services at farmers' doorstep through Maitri, which is multi-purpose AI technician in rural India to conserve, develop, and proliferate selected indigenous bovine breeds of high socio-economic importance. Rashtriya Gokul Mission comes under the ambit of this program. NPDD will focus on creating infra related to production, procurement, processing, and marketing by milk unions, federation, and also extension activities, including training of farmers. Under the scheme, there is provision for rehabilitation assistance to improve condition of sick milk cooperatives by providing a central grant up to 50% of cost of rehabilitation project with a maximum financial ceiling of rupees 5 crore. Now we'll talk about Rashtriya Gokul Mission. Now this was initiated under National Program for Bovine Breeding in December 2014. Its objectives are development and conservation of indigenous breed improvement program or indigenous cattle breeds to improve their genetic makeup and increase stock, upgradation of nondescript cattle using elite indigenous breeds like Gir, Sahiwal, Rathi, Dioni, Red Sindhi. Now, this mission it includes establishment of Gokul Gram, which is integrated indigenous cattle centers, Gopal and Sangh, which is the breeder societies, and National Kamdenu breeding centers for development, conservation, and preservation of indigenous breeds are being established, one in the north and one in South India, as a center of excellence to develop and conserve indigenous breeds. Besides being a repository of indigenous germplasm, it will also be a source of certified germplasm in the country. Now, we'll talk about the Dairy Entrepreneurship Development Scheme. It was started in September 2010 to generate self-employment opportunities in dairy sector in India. It is implemented through NABARD, which provides financial assistance to commercially bankable projects with loans from commercial, cooperative, urban and rural banks with a back-ended capital subsidy of 25% of project cost to the beneficiaries of general category and 33.33% of project cost to SCA and ST beneficiaries. Now, the activities include establishment of small dairy unit from 2 to 10 milk animals, rearing of heifers that is up to 20 calves, vermicompost, purchase of milking machines, etc. And individual entrepreneur farmer groups of farmers, SHGs, dairy cooperative societies, district milk unions, and Panchayati Raj institutions are eligible under this scheme. Now, in the next class, we will continue. Um, yes, the remaining sub will continue in the next class. Bye bye, guys.